I have a question about the field guide. By when do we need to give you a list of the plants we're going to be researching, apart from the ones that you gave us?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I haven't really gotten that far in my thinking either. So, I think one of the possibilities is that I think that certainly the sooner the better. And I think what I'll do is put up, tell me what you think about this. I'm thinking of putting up a discussion item in Canvas that is this additional plant list. Basically, whoever reads it first and enters their plant list will be able to work with whatever they've provided, but anyone subsequently has to look at who wrote before and make sure that they're not repeating anything that somebody else has done. So a little bit of a competition on speed, but I won't tell you when I'm going to do that, but it'll be soon. I mean, any other suggestions? I'm trying to avoid managing a bunch of different emails back and forth. And I think this might be the best way. So I see a few people nodding.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I think, Professor?
Yeah.
I think I shared my list on the Q&A.
Oh, you
maybe
did?
I think I should share it, maybe email it to you first. I was actually confused. I was under the impression that you put it on Q&A so that your other classmates can see.
Well,
or maybe should I confirm it with you first and then share it?
Well, no, actually, Q&A can work too. It works kind of the same way as a discussion.
Okay.
So if you're already have it on Q&A, why don't we see if we can work it out there?
Okay.
So congratulations, Sunaina, you're first. So I'll look at your plant list and see if there's anything that I see as a conflict, which I'm not foreseeing.
Yes.
Yeah. And then for everybody else, look at the Q&A cafe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Q&A cafe.
When you've got your list, compare it with what Sunaina has done. If you don't have any duplicates, then go ahead and post yours on the Q&A cafe, and then each person will go down. Don't ever worry that there aren't going to be enough plants, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of plants.
So are you talking about total 60 field guide, 60 plants field guide?
Yes.
So yes, but for this list, what we're looking at is just the 35. You already have 25 that are on the master list.
So you assigned 25 each to us, and then we have to search 35 more?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the 35 more is the list that we're talking about posting on the Q&A cafe.
Okay, you go ahead.
Sorry. Can we pick the plants on that master list? I mean, you assign 25 to each of us, and the other 35, can we pick from that list, or do
so Catherine,
we have to
you
I'm this Thursday class, yeah.
Sure. The master plant list, your name is already assigned to 25 plants on that list.
Yes.
Then there's a second list, and that second list is for you, Israel, Elena, Arena, and I think that's who are taking this type of plant ID class for the first time. You can choose, you don't have to, but on that second list, you can choose the plants that have been identified there as part of your 35 additional plants.
Okay.
So take a look at that, choose if you want to use some of those. And then beyond that, you're on your own. You can choose whatever you want to research, whatever your interests are.
So the second list is also under that module 1.
Mhm.
Okay.
The-
You can download it, right?
Yeah, it should be downloadable. I also sent it as an email, and that email went to your West Valley account. And that brings me to another question for you is, do you all get notified when there's new announcements and various activities that are going on with Canvas? I see Fabi nodding her head.
Some of them I get, but some of them I didn't get the announcement.
Okay, you might want to check. I believe that the introductory letter email that I sent you gave direction for everyone to figure out how to do notifications.
Yeah, I checked that, especially all of your comments from you, I cannot receive. So I emailed the Canvas guy to figure out how to get the announcement.
I have been getting a lot of good luck with the Canvas help.
Okay.
If you go to Canvas on the very far side of the column, it says help with a question mark. And under that, it says that you can select to chat with somebody, and they can help you, just anybody who is having any difficulties with Canvas. If you need something set up, or there's a problem with logging in on something, or whatever. So far for me, they've been very helpful.
Okay, I will do that.
So I think when you log in, just go and click on dashboard, and then the dashboard will just take you to all the courses that you're doing. And under every course, you will actually see the notification. So all you have to do is just click on the notification, whether it's a comment on your something that you've written, or an
yes,
announcement.
most of them, but only all of the comments and some of the discussions I cannot receive. I don't know how, because last semester, every quiz, professor, when you grade it, you give some comments, right? But
Right.
I didn't see the comment until far away, maybe almost at the end of the semester. Yeah, and then it shows some comments. I don't know why.
That's a mystery to me.
Yeah, remember last semester I told you maybe because we took quiz 1 to quiz 2. Maybe at the end of the semester almost, and then I just saw your comments for my quiz 1. I never know that you grade and then
Yeah, so when I grade any exams or quizzes, if there is something that needs a clarification or a correction, I try to include those in the comments. So if you're not seeing them, try, and also with the discussion comments, try pulling up look under grades maybe, and then pull up the particular quiz and go question by question, and they might be hiding within specific questions. So, but again, if that's not resulting in any, and maybe I didn't have any comments, maybe you were perfect, Sue.
No, because I saw it at the end of the semester.
Yeah, okay. So and then of course, getting the online help might help as well.
Yeah, I will figure out.
We'll practice. That's kind of what this lecture is about. I'm going to try not to, lecture you too much, but what I want to make sure is that for today, that we're all on the same page as to where we're going with the field guides. And of course, if there's any questions about how to study, that sort of thing. You'll see, how many of you have done module 1? Sorta. Everybody else is blank in module 1. Okay, so it's going, I'll give you a warning that it's going to be a little overwhelming because the college in general wants us, both faculty and students alike, to make sure that their research or their studying is based on references that are reliable, that we're not making things up and we're providing quotes that are relevant because they've been peer reviewed. So this all comes down to a focus on citations and references. Now, when you look through module 1, it's going to look like you're writing a thesis paper or a dissertation, and that's not at all, what I'm intending you to do. But when you are doing the research for your plants, you want to be focused more on what professionals have already provided as their research to support your research. You don't want to rely on, say, a nursery that has an opinion, about a plant because they're trying to sell the plant. Okay, so that's what you want to be very careful about. When it comes to the what you are going to reference, if you remember on your field guide, there is, or for those of you who are new, on the field guide, there is information that you're going to put in there that is common, and it's from your garden book. So for example, the sunset garden zones, that you don't have to make that up and you don't have to research that. You look in your book, you look for the name of the plant and you see what the sunset zone is and you write that down. And you do not have to cite your sunset garden book. That's our textbook. So that's not something that I expect you to worry about. And that goes also through to, did somebody have a question? Elena?
Can I ask?
Yeah.
See, I'm about exactly zoning because the book Sunset give the different numbers than internet search. And
Yeah.
I really confused. Is it probably different between plants and or energy spending? Or
yeah, definitely.
Not only me have this question. Can you tell us a little bit more about?
Definitely.
Because for instance, Santa Clara for me from the book it's zone 15, but from other source it's 9B or 10.
Yeah, we'll go over that in a few minutes, but I want to make sure that we talk a little bit more about the field guide and the data there, and then we'll get into some of the details like the zones. So I'm going to digress. I had submitted in the announcements, this might be mostly for the new people. In announcements, I attached a sample study sheet, worksheet for your plants. So if you haven't looked that up yet, you can feel free to do it while we're here so you can make sure that you have it. But go to the Canvas announcements. Yes, that's it. Thank you, Elena. And it's a basic sheet that you can use, I don't know if you want to type it out, print it out, or if you want to keep it on your computer as a template. But it shows all the categories that you should be looking for and filling in. So sunset zones is one thing. Hydrology, I'll talk about in a minute, but that's another. And obviously the botanical name, common name, you know, origin, if it's available, you know, these are things that are typically, there's no debate about that information. So like I said, you look in your Sunset Garden book, and if it has that information, you write that down, and then you use that for your reference. Where it gets a little bit, I wouldn't say messy, but it is open for interpretation, is when you're looking at landscape use or maintenance issues, or what else? There's one other. I'm forgetting which one.
Outstanding feature.
Yes, thank you. Outstanding feature. Now thank you. They're not. It's very easy to make those. Gosh, I'm losing my words. It's easy to interpret that there, especially when you start looking at sunset and you start reading the paragraphs of the information on there. You might have a writer who thinks that this plant is the world's best grass and it has an exceptional, you know, shape and profile, and you know, they can go on and on. And then you might not, after you read it, might not know what the heck they're talking about. And then you'll get another writer who describes a plant in very basic form. It's round. You know, what do you do with that? So that's why you have to go to other sources to find out, you know, what is it that we can describe here to give a clear idea of how the plant is used and what are its value, and you know, so on and so forth. And that's why we need to refer to these other resources that you find on the web or other books, much like that. So that's what you're going to look through. I want to talk, let me show you an example. So here we go, share a screen. Well, actually, since I have it up, I'm going to show you the zones, since I know that that was a real question. Can you see my page? Are we good?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So Sunset is very straightforward. They've got all their maps, and they have, I'm trying to set up a few things here. Okay, so they've got all their maps. They're online, they're in the book, and it's very granular in that they have all the microclimates for our zone. And I see that a lot of us are in what, zone 15 from Sunset? Yeah, Fabi's nodding, Sunina, okay.
I'm confused though, it's 15 or maybe 16 because it's south of San Jose, so it's like close to Saratoga. So I don't know if it's like
yeah, and
close.
not to confuse you more, but you know, they haven't updated it, and with climate change, those microclimates are changing too.
Changing too.
So I would say just pick one that you want, and just, you know, run with that. This is important because when you are looking for the plants, the new plants that you're going to research, you want to make sure that those plants that you're researching are compatible with your zone, right? So if you look up an exotic tropical that is only native to Singapore, and it cannot thrive in California, I'm asking you not to take your time to research that plant, because for as long as we're teaching here You know, we want to focus on those plants here. So in other words, don't put a lot of orchids in your file as an example. I mean, there are cymbidiums that can grow outdoors here, but as a landscape architecture class, I want you to focus on plants that are planted outdoors in this area, okay? So that's the significance of the sunset zones. When you're looking at plants, making sure that they are in your zone. Now, there is the US hardiness zone, and that's what I'm showing you here, which is different. And I'm showing you this particular one. In fact, I will, when I stop sharing, I'll share this screen. It's the National Gardening Association. It's actually a better, more clear map than the one from the USDA. And what you'll find is that when you scroll over it, it blows up. So you can actually see the detail. And it has all the zones. And then you just scroll over to California, and you can kind of get a sense of what you have. So if you look at the Bay Area, there are some darker areas, I guess a darker tan, if you will. And some of you have already looked up that that's probably 9B, all right? And 9B, if you look, there's the temperature tolerances for plants within that area, because those are the climates that are there. So you have in 9B, which is really where we're all at, it's 25 to 30 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit, or minus 3.9 or to 1.1 Fahrenheit, Celsius, sorry. I wish we would just go metric. It would be so knowing that, why we do not use this map normally is you'll also see that here in Florida, it shares the same zone. You see that darker tan, that's the same as in California. And if we go down here to Texas, you see that there's a little bit there as well. Well, what grows in Florida in that zone and in Texas in that zone will not necessarily grow in California, the same zone. And this is true for the map all over. You know, it's so generalized to temperature only that it doesn't take into consideration precipitation or soil or heat. And what the sunset zone does is provide that additional detail. So sometimes you're going to research plants that are not in the Sunset Garden book. And in that case, it's not going to share a sunset zone. So it may only give you the USDA zone. And so what you are going to be looking for, similarly to what I've asked you to look for the sunset zone, is to make sure that it's in your zone at least, right? So if you are researching a plant and you see that it's dialed into a 9B hardiness zone, then chances are better that you can use it. You can use it in your field guide. But you're going to have to do a little bit more research to find out, say, it is a plant that thrives in swamp. You know, maybe that's a Florida plant, right? So you want to look at where it's native to, you know, if it's native to Florida or if it's native to another country. You know, those are the evaluations that you need to make as you discover, you know, what the plant can do. And this happens all the time for landscape architects. You know, they're doing a design. Heck, you know, there are so many landscape architects that work all across the world, and they don't even know where they are, and they have to specify the plants. Excuse me. So yeah, it's really critical to really know where you are, know where the plants are from, and that origin will give you a better idea of whether or not it's compatible with your designs. Okay, so does that make sense about zones at this point? Yeah.
Professor, I'm still a little dizzy. So, do you mean we found? Actually, I found my area on the Sunset book. Sunset Garden book is kind of June 15 to June 16. It's just
Yeah.
beside the San Jose. So, I search on the internet and then for my zip code, and then it shows it's 9B. So do you mean 9B is the USDA zone, and then the 15 is the sunset zone?
Exactly.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. So in this case, if we can find it on the sunset book, for example, my area is just beside San Jose, so it shows San Jose is 15, and then I live in Santa Clara here, it's just beside here, so it means I have to use the June 15 to 16. It's much better than 9B, right?
Well, yeah, if Santa Clara is more in zone 16, then you'll want to use that. If you're on the border, kind of like what Sanina was talking about, if you're on the border between 15 and 16, most of the plants that are listed in Sunset, if they're compatible in 15, they're probably going to be compatible in 16 as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't worry too much about the difference between one or the other. It's more important that if you are in zone 15, but you look at a plant that is compatible with Hawaii, it might be more challenging. So really, and you're going to see that all the plants have a range of zones that it's compatible to. So it's not going to be one zone that it's compatible to. It'll be multiple, and that's okay. So long as you're within that range, then it's okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that's one. We talked about the sheet that is in the announcements for you to use as your workbook. And for the people who have taken last semester, they already kind of have this dialed in. So I'm not expecting you to use this, use that, just in case you want to elaborate. There were some things in the field guides from last semester that were missing, or the definitions were blurred. Like I saw that landscape use, and why am I always forgetting the other one? Sanina, you reminded me. What was it? Landscape.
Was it outstanding features?
Thank you. Oh gosh. Okay. So yeah, outstanding features, landscape use, they are different categories, and it's easy to confuse those as you're looking at how people write about them. So if you need any help, I mean, this is when we get into the lab and you're looking at information on plants and you don't understand what they're saying, that's your opportunity to either ask another student or ask me, and we can have a conversation about it. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so back to references. We talked about the sunset zone. I included, so I put it in chat for the sunset zone, or not sunset, USDA zone map that I was looking at. So if you can bookmark that for yourself, then you can always use that. let me continue looking here. Bear with me, please. Okay, so the next thing is that we're going to get into a routine with the modules where there'll be a discussion item, and the next discussion item and subsequent discussion items will be posted, early, like Sunday, or I think it's Sunday at midnight. And those are discussions, rather informal, that we have, but those are due on Wednesday night. Okay. So if you haven't looked at module 1, you're getting a little bit behind the time, and you want to look at that and make sure that you submit to the discussion so we can share our ideas and move forward. Okay. So make sure you get to that. And then if there's an assignment, it's usually about information related to our study. But I think the next one is a little bit of reading in your Sunset Garden book. And there'll be some prompts to ask some questions, and that's to make sure that you are understanding the material. And then that would be, so discussions are due on Wednesdays. And if there's an assignment beyond your lab study, that's going to be due on Sundays. And that'll be the routine moving forward. That makes sense? Okay, good. I like seeing nods. And certainly if there's any questions about it, let me know.
I have a question, sorry.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about the field guide,
Yeah.
I was looking at module 1.5 about the preparing for your field guide. So it's going to be like an example kind of our a page from our field guide, kind of like what we did last semester. Is that what it?
Yeah,
kind
so before I start talking about it, does everybody have their Canvas up and running right now? So if you aren't, I recommend that you do, but go to the 1.5 assignment and pull that up, and we can look at what all is in there and talk about it. And that too is going to seem like a lot of information, but it's going to help us get to the next steps and all subsequent steps fairly easy. So, is everybody there? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so this is basically going to set you up so that you have your resources at your fingertips, and you can go through this field guide fairly easily. The first thing that you're going to focus on, and don't worry about the details now, because everything in this module will help you understand what the expectation is about citations and attributions, and then understanding your microclimate, which a lot of you have already understood, and then what Fabi was talking about as far as the framework. And you can see actually under the field guide framework, there's links to the master list and the optional list for Catherine, Arena, Elena, and Israel. So if you need to access them, you know where to get them. So your annotated bibliography, this is what I would highly recommend. And in fact, the discussion that is previous to this is posting some of the resources that you find that you're using to study your plants, so that other people can share that resource. And what I would recommend is that you create either electronically through bookmarks, or you start putting on paper somewhere your references so that you can always go back to that rather than having to search them over and over and over again. And you'll find when you do a Google search for a particular plant, a lot of the same references will pop up that are relatively reliable. And of course, there are others that won't. You know, I've included some in your syllabus, and then, you know, there's ones that your classmates are adding in the discussion. But what I want you to do is start listing them out so you have them all in one place. You know, just start exploring it. You can explore with some of the plants that you have already and see what pops up, or you can rely on the resources that are being shared. You know, whatever, however you find it, put it together in one place so you always have that. Okay.
Would you like us to do just one citation in APA style so we could send that to you, or did you want us to do like the 3 sources, or do you want like all 8? How many do you want for this one?
Well, so preferably you would do the APA style and or APA style for the things that you've found, and do it so that but you could do one. If it's overwhelming, do one and then list all your other sources so that at least I know that you've been looking and doing some research. Preferably, you're going to create an APA citation for each one of them. And especially as you start exploring other ones, you'll want to add to it. So if you reference another book, you know, that's going to be the APA style. If you are referencing a photo, that's an attribution. So in fact, you'll see on some of the presentations I'm providing, I show you some citations and attributions when I've used them. So they're good examples as well. So this is where we get kind of serious, because we have to represent what we're researching, and making sure that we're not just going to, you know, summer winds and asking them their opinion of, you know, what they think is a great plant. Okay. So yeah. Somebody have a question?
Sorry, Professor, I'm still confused. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I cannot understand quite well. So, do you mean for this field guide, we have to do kind of one sample for our field guide, one plant, right?
Yeah, actually for this project, for this assignment, yeah, you do an example of your field guide.
So can we choose the plant from the master list
Yes.
you assign to us? Okay.
Yeah.
So and then besides the field guide, we have to do. So last semester, we did a field guide, and then for example, the picture from which website I will put it down there. But this time it seems kind of more than this. I cannot quite understand how to do it.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
we never, so in my education experience, I never did this. I don't know how to do.
That's okay. You're going to learn how to do it.
Yeah,
So let me show you something specific to the field guide, and I'm going to share my screen. Well, let me back up. So to answer, yes, we did not do it this way before. The challenge, or the evolution, let's say that, the evolution of working online and creating all these online documents is that information changes very rapidly. And so it's super easy to post a citation or something, particularly if it's found on the internet, and particularly photos, that will no longer be relevant later. The other problem is that most, if not, I mean, most of the photos are copyrighted. So when we put photos in our field guides, that if you are not giving the proper credit to the people who created that photo, then that's a problem. It can be a legal problem, okay? And so this is the time to get into the habit of doing the proper credits. Now, I'm not going to, at the moment, I'm not going to tell you about, you know, copyright versus Creative Commons. I'll get into that in a second. But right now I want to show you, Sue, how it looks.
Thank you.
Let me show. I don't know if this is going to be blurry or not. Can you see that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So this is at the end of the lecture that I was actually going to give you today. And what they refer, you see the lecture on the left-hand side, and all the photos that I have in this lecture are documented in these, what are called attributions. So citations are what you use for books, really. Books, journals, articles that you read. Citations are listed by the author and the date that it was printed, you know, and the publisher, you know, all that stuff. It's rare that you're going to be using it, but you may be using it because you're quoting from somebody. All right, so if you quote directly from one of your other references, and that's okay, you know, you can present a quote as part of what you're writing. I'm getting off topic. I'll get back to that. Attributions. Sorry, I digressed. Okay, so attributions. When you have a photo that you're referencing that's not your own, you want to make sure you give credit where credit is due, even if it's, regardless if it's copyrighted or from Creative Commons. You want to lean toward Creative Commons. In fact, it's preferred that you only work with Creative Commons, because anything else is copyrighted and you need to get their permission. Creative Commons, you don't need their permission. You just need to give them credit. And that's what this list is. So the very first ones, this is an ideal way of creating an attribution. The very first one that's in quotes is the title of the photo that you found. So I'm going to back out of this and see if I can do this without going crazy. There we go. Oh, okay, hold on. And I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. So here we are at Google. And I'm going to look at images. So let me put up, bring up, say a begonia. So now you're going to get 1 million pictures of begonias. And of course, usually the first ones are plants that are for sale. So you never want to use those. That's not going to be reliable. Plus, if you use those, you have to get their permission, because they're trying to sell a plant, not a photo. And it's their photo, okay? So you don't want to do that. All these other photos all along here are copyrighted photos. So if you were to go to this cute little one and you see that you've got the photo, and then it has the title of the photo. And then just below it, it says images may be subject to copyright. So when you click on that, it says all this information about copyright. You don't have to worry about that. What that tells me is that I do not want to use that photo because it's dealing with copyright, not Creative Commons, not open source. All right. So you want to skip this one. And that means we have to do a different search. Okay, so up here at the very top, Elena, you look like you're not happy with this. Okay.
I had bad news today. Don't pay attention to me, please.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. It's that time. It's terrible. So do what you can. And if you need to, back out and you need me to give you some information later, by all means do that, okay? Okay, so here we are back at the very top where we did our search. And there is this part here where it says tools. And if you click on tools, you get to usage rights. And at usage rights, you want to go for Creative Commons license. And click on that. Now, what you're going to see, mostly from Wikimedia, are the photos that you are free to use without asking somebody's permission. Okay? So let's click on this one. And here's a photo that has a title. And if you actually click on the photo, you get to where it is in Wikimedia Commons. Now, if you remember in the attributions that I showed you a title for the photo. That's this information up here. And that information needs to be in quotes at the very beginning of your attribution. And so you just right click it, copy, and then paste it into your file. All right. So that's the title of the photo that you're referencing. And ideally, and you should put in a hyperlink. If you don't know what that is, we'll go to that in a minute. But the next thing that you need is who created the photo. All right, so if you scroll down, you'll find an author. So in this case, Jersey Opiola was the one that created this photo. So in the attribution, you have the title in quotes, by, and you have the author. And then you say, is licensed under Wikimedia Commons. So I'm going to give you, I'm going to look at a different one just so you have another example. No, not that one. Pixabay and Pixie are often in here, and they don't necessarily, they're not necessarily part of Creative Commons. So you want to be careful which ones you're looking for. Let me find here's another Wikimedia Commons. Go to that. Okay, so the title for this one is all this, Begonia semperflorens, dark pink, 1 JPEG. And then if you go down here, you see an author, and this time I cannot pronounce the author, maybe somebody else can. But what I wanted to show you with this is that it has a link. So remember, you're creating a link to the photo, and then you have by the author, who is this person, and they have a link. So you want to click on that, and you want to copy, you want to copy their name if it's hard to spell. Or more importantly, you want to link to their name, okay, which is up here. That's where you right click, copy, and then you're going to paste that into your link on your attribution. And then of course, the last part of that is licensed under, and that's Wikimedia Commons. So to get that link, you just press this. This takes you to their main page, and you copy the address of the main page. So let me take you back to my my example here. Okay, are you seeing it? Yep,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so all of these follow the same format. I have the title of the map that I found, and it was produced by Peter Russa. That's this photo that's right here. And it's licensed, actually, I should say, look at this. I haven't corrected this. I was tired when I put this together. It should say, you're going to help me fix my stuff, is licensed under Wikimedia Commons. Okay. And you can see that all of these have hyperlinks. And if you do not know what a hyperlink is, let me know and we can cover that. But essentially the website where I found and I showed you all those is embedded in each one of these. And this is important because we're doing all these electronic files, right? And you're using photos. You always want to have a viable connection to where you found that photo. Okay. And if you rely on copyrighted photos from nurseries and all that, well, what happens when they change it? You know, what happens if they decide they want to do a different picture? Then you've lost that connection. And with Wikimedia Commons and Flickr and even Pixabay, if they're viable, chances are those photos are going to be there for a very long time. So if you have not only the link to the photo itself, but also who authored that photo, there's a trail that we can maintain. Okay, so are you with me on this?
Yes, Professor. So
Yes.
I can understand a little more. So last semester when I used the photo and you taught me just give the credit right beside the photo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this case, so if we do this way, give a separate attributions.
Yeah.
So I don't need put the credit beside the photo, right?
I had the same.
No, yeah, you can have it on a separate page. You could have it on the bottom of the page.
So I mean,
So
for
here,
example, need I, because I have to put the attribution on a separate page, right?
you don't have to. I'm going to show you something. Now I did this because I have a lecture and I want this is my preference. I put all the attributions at the end
Together.
just so that they're not making a mess of the sheets,
Uh-huh.
right? But you can, I'm going to show you, copy. So pretend this is one of your field guide sheets.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can put it at the bottom of your field guide sheet if you want to.
So which
And
one do you prefer us to do?
whichever is best, whichever you feel comfortable doing.
Okay, so for this assignment, the module 1.5, this field guide assignment, we only need to do this page's field guides, the reference, right? I mean, for example, I make a plan field guide for this assignment.
Yeah.
I might have 3 or 4 photos. So I only need to give the credit. I only need to kind of write
You,
the
you need,
attribution.
so if you use 3 photos, you
Yeah.
should have 3 attributions.
Okay. So I can on a separate page.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that's another way of doing it. You can, so this, you can see what I've done here. I just put it on the sheet and that's your choice. Now let's pretend this list is your attributions for your entire field guide. Because you want to put it at the very end, you don't want to deal with it. What I would recommend is that you put at the front, pretend these are attributions to plants.
Yeah.
What I would do is start with saying, begonia, and then have your attributions there for your begonia.
Okay.
Then when you get to the next one, this is azalea, and then put your attributions so that the attributions are dedicated to specific sheets.
I see. So besides all of this information from internet, if we use the Sunset Garden book, can we give the Sunset Garden book credit too?
Yeah, the Sunset Garden book, you don't have to worry about, in fact, let me be more clear. The Sunset Garden book, you should only add once at the very top of your citations.
Okay.
Right? You don't have to do it for every single one.
I see.
And that citation is going to look like, I know I showed an example, but your citation for the Sunset Garden book is in the APA style. It's not an attribution. So any of your books or anything, you're going to have a heading that says citations. And then for this one, I look through it and I find that it doesn't have a single author. This is a compilation of lots of people contributing to this edition. So there's an editor, and the editor is, her last name is Norris Brenzel. And you have to put her last name, a comma, and then her first initial. Then we know that this is the 2012 edition. Oh, sorry, back up. Since she's the editor, you put editor. And then you also put in the edition, the copy, the date of the edition. Oh, 12. And then here, the following, and this is a typical APA. Western Garden book. So that's the title. And then we know that the publisher is out of New York. And the publisher is Time Home Entertainment, Inc. Okay. So I just wrote the citation for Sunset. If you want to, copy this now and put it in, but I think I've already shown, it's on the syllabus actually. So if you want to copy the information on the syllabus and paste it into your field guide, you've got your citation for the Western Garden book.
Okay.
Professor?
Yes.
So what does a citation for a website look like when I cannot find the author? Like if I have used, say, San Marcos Growers for a couple of my photos, I'll be putting the attributions next to the photos. But at the end of the assignment, the field guide, I'll have a citation page. And do I need to still put send the website for citation?
Yeah, so a couple things. I think the link that I included in the module about APA style gives you sort of a workbook to figure out where to put, how to make the citations. But since we're all probably going to be relying on websites, I'm going to give you an example right here. So let me just find something so I don't have to look for one. Okay, so say you found an article on the internet and it shows who the author is. So I'm going to put Jones T. I was just watching Tom Jones sing, so I don't know if you know who he is. I guess that's what came to my mind. Okay, so Tom Jones wrote an article on the internet and they didn't provide a date. So you either put the date that is posted. So if it says April 2019, then you put that. Otherwise, if there's no date, you just put date, no date. And then you put the title of the article. So Tom Jones sings the blues. All right, so that's the title of the article. That is not put in italics. Yay, we get to learn more about italics. Woo-hoo. Okay, so not put in italics, but what is placed in italics is where that article was posted. So let's say this was in Rolling Stone magazine. This is the part that you want to put in italics.
So the publisher, basically, for the website.
Right, yeah. And then what you need to do is put the date you retrieved this information. So retrieved, and then say, May 5th, 2005, 3, whatever, 2013. And then you need to put the link to the article. So you need to copy and paste, the HTTP, all that sort of blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that we have a link to the article that you found. Does that make sense, Naya?
I was just thinking, since we are researching plants, we'll mostly be researching, say for example, I'll be going to Cal Poly. I'm assuming I'll be visiting their website quite often. So then there's no author there. I mean, there's information, you click on the plant and then there's information about the plant. So then how do I get the information of I don't know if the author's name's there and
okay,
when
so
the information was retrieved.
If you go to Missouri Botanical Garden, right? Because that's a really common one.
Common one, yes.
Then you don't have an author.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, let's say, so what you would do is you would just put them here. And then if there's a date, you put that, or you just put no date.
Okay.
And then the rest of it.
Okay.
Okay. This is why I want all of us to practice and put a few together. And I can hopefully help you get all on the same page. Once you do a couple of these, then it's going to be very easy. And again, especially with citations, like the sunset, if you're going back to one over and over and over again, you can, especially if it's a book, you can just list it once. If you wanted to, you can put the page, so if you relied on, let's say you relied on, well, any other book for some new information, particularly if you quote, if you go to a different book and you create a quote about some fabulous thing about a plant, then you'll want to include that citation of where you found that quote.
Okay.
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 So you cannot replace what you write with nothing but a quote. A quote can be like part of a sentence or maybe one sentence. And again, for your field guide, what you're doing is you're writing out, you're not doing a lot of writing. You're doing maybe like 3 sentences on landscape use and an observation about maintenance. So if you're getting stuck trying to figure out what kind of description that you want to include, then use somebody's quote, but then make sure that you reference them in your citations. So yeah. Anybody feeling like this is way too much?
This is a bit intense.
Catherine?
Like last time, like if you take a photo, you just put like, say for example, gardenia.net next to the photo. It was like,
Yeah.
So now you have to like really get into the detail of author and the license and everything. So
Yeah, believe me, I would love to go back to that. Love to, because every lecture I have to, put the citations and the ultimate goal, not just for us, but generally for education, is that we have this information available to people in the future. And the principal reason why we do citations is that you are contributing to this information. And a lot of people provided that information to you, and it's time to, give credit where credit is due, but also to show that you're building on other people's information that has been provided and researched. All right, so y'all are becoming serious. So I know it sounds really overwhelming right now. I promise you that once you do a couple of them, and particularly as you build this page of citations, you're just going to be doing a lot of point and click in order to get it done. And you don't have to worry about this for any of our lectures. This is only for your field guide. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I see that we've gone past 6:15. So let's take a break and then, mull over everything that I just threw at you. And this, what we're going to do is we're going to keep focusing on what is needed for this course and for your field guide, and making sure that we're all on the same page. Next week, or not next week, but Thursday, we're going to start, I'm going to start a lecture about plants in winter nurseries, so that you understand about availability and how to specify plants on your designs. So that'll be sort of your introduction to really the subject matter at hand. And then Tuesday, that's when we're going to start really going through these plants, starting with next week being the first 20 plants. Okay, 10 on Tuesday, 10 on Thursday. And we'll keep going. And hopefully we'll hit a rhythm where this is all easy for you to assemble, but also that it helps you learn more about the plants for, you know, the ID exams. Okay. Okay, so we'll get there. Let's take a break for 10 minutes. I don't think this lab is going to be the full line of till 7:45 because we're not really dealing with the plants yet, but I'm going to be here so that we can field any questions. Okay? Okay, I'll see you in 10 minutes or yeah, let's see, it's 6:30. How about 6:45? Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
Cool. See you then.
Hey, Thomas.
Yeah.
Real quick, can
Sure.
I use this book?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, totally.
I have
There
the
may
same
be
one too.
yeah, that's okay. There may be some information that's a little different.
Okay, cool.
And if I say something that, you know, like when I'm presenting the plants and you research it and it shows something different, in particular, if it shows an older name, then see me, you know, let me know. And I can either give you an update or we can just go with the information that you have.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Feel so happy that I got this book then.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. All right. See you then.
Okay. See ya in 6:45.
要吃一吃，你再加水。等一下，我要吃一下咸蛋啊。不是要加糖啊？
那个柿子桃园应该知道都没事。
没事的，是的。不够咸，这酱油不够咸。